gente linda, and welcome to PanaVizión, the Todo Soul Flow podcast that brings you all local stories, news, and music with your favorite, delicious, sweet.
This will make sense soon.
This will make sense soon. Hosts Aneri Clary, the co-founders of PanaMia Club.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, PanaMia Club is a collective that's making supporting local entrepreneurs and creatives easier than finding atomic work in Wynwood. It's everywhere.
Definitely.
Every episode, we'll invite a locally based pana to discuss what they're doing in their community, and then we're also going to have a musical guest come on and talk about their latest release.
Yes, absolutely. And today we are going to welcome Sophia of Miami Freedom Project to discuss how to bridge political divides in Miami.
And then later we're going to bring on one of our first panas ever, El Igor, here to talk about their latest EP for the summer.
Super excited about it. We actually had a sneak peek, and it's fire.
It's great.
It's pretty fire. But before we get to
before all that though, tell me, Annette, how are you? Come on, this.
I'm good. No, yeah. It was a great day. I have my friend Frankie in the teleprompter today, and I hadn't seen Frankie in a really long time. So this is kind of like their introduction to kind of like what we do here. So definitely trying to make a good
Frankie.
Impression.
Oh,
good impression.
How
today.
are we doing so far, Frankie? Okay,
good impressions. Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah. Cool. Well, I think we should shout out our new panas, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. We're trying something new.
So, yeah, let's shout out our new panas.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the people that signed up actually were kind of like poets. They had like these like long, beautiful bios. So I'm going to try to do them justice. So we're going to start off with Desserts by Liana, a small desserts business in Kendall serving tres leches, flan, arroz con leche, chocolate-covered treats, and many more. And they also do catering for any event.
That's amazing. We actually have a lot of dessert panas.
We have a lot of dessert panas.
We can put on like a dessert event. I don't know. Some sort of sweet
I
thing.
mean, like, I wouldn't eat anything, but
Annette doesn't like sweets. Anyway, moving on to Fiesta Time. They are a Hispanic-owned party rental business, also specializing in decorations, located in Miami. They've been renting chairs for about a year now, but just this year they started to expand, and they have bouncy castles, face painting, decoration stuff. And actually, we're going to be sponsoring an event with them. So
what?
On August,
this is news to me.
Yep.
On
August 12th, we're going to be doing a back-to-school event hosted with,
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really fun. There's going to be bouncy castles, art stations. So if you have kids and you want to have a fun event for them, yeah, that's a good spot. We'll be there, too.
They really seem like que monten la fiesta, you know? Like,
yeah, now we
everything.
have that. We have someone to montar la fiesta.
Awesome. So next up, we have Jovem Atelier. So they are a production house based in South Florida, and their goal is to create a cinematic experience for their clients. They strive to work with upcoming artists and give them a beautiful experience of creating art together to showcase their talent as well as their own. So Jovem Atelier focuses on content that pushes the needle forward creatively, and then kind of like creating a space that is like non-toxic for artists and, you know, working with artists that have some financial limitations. So they sound really cool.
That's really awesome.
They sound really, really cool.
That's a good person to know and have. Yes. All right, so then we have AB Stills. They're a multimedia, basically just a creative, right? So they do their own work. They're Colombian, so they connect with their roots, and they're creating art, both production and music, and also photography. They also photograph a lot of musicians. And actually, I found them. I love how we continue to like grow organically, kind of, because the reason I found them was through Argoda, our other pana. And AB Stills also manages a lot of musicians here. So if you're a musician and you're looking for someone to help out, maybe reach out to them. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think we're missing just one more pana, if I'm not wrong. I'm just gonna move up the script a bit. My bad. This way. Ooh. There we go. Oh, okay. Yes.
Well,
so we have
water.
Emilio. Water? Oh, yeah. So this person is actually really, really cool.
Yes.
So they focus on clean water, ecosystem protection, and sea level rise resiliency. So they tackle issues of clean water throughout the Biscayne Bay watershed, from the Everglades to the coral reefs, and they protect the ecosystems that depend on the clean water, including corals, seagrasses, and mangroves. And yeah, just like all around science, policy, and advocacy, and education and outreach. So that is Miami Waterkeeper. They recently became a PANA, and they are really cool. I'm so glad to have a nonprofit organization like this that is like really, because I mean, it's
environmental too. It's our first one that's really tackling these like climate issues.
And it's just like, it's so great to see people that are kind of like focusing on these issues, because, you know, you see the news and like it's all the doom and gloom about like climate change, and you're like, it brings like kind of like a dread, right? Mm-hmm. And then to see somebody that is like kind of like counteracting that and like, no, we can do something about it. I love coming across energy like that.
I love that. And then I also love that they're also really well connected to the community. For example, they, like, I think actually today they're collaborating with Inky Kimmy at Easy Peasy Tattoos.
What?
And all proceeds, so Inky Kimmy made a flash sheet for an event in collaboration with Miami Waterkeepers. All proceeds are donated to Miami Waterkeepers from the tattoo flash sale. Yeah, it's amazing.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
okay, so there's like a little bit of community news in there. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, and then
so then we have Emilio. They're a photo-based artist who creates out of reaction. So that could range from whatever they're listening to, music, to people, or just collaborative in nature. So it's very like spontaneous and in the moment art, which is cool.
Amazing. And then lastly, we have Sagrada Media, social media management. So we're actually going to be talking to her in a second, but she is Sofia Hidalgo, a Miami-based social media manager and content strategist. She has 3 years of experience in creating and optimizing content for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And she specifically works with nonprofit organizations small businesses, local initiatives, and personal accounts in South Florida. So that is incredible, because that's actually our first social media manager on our directory, and we are so happy to have her. I can personally recommend her. She is incredible at what she does. Mm-hmm. So excited to be talking to her soon. So yeah, that puts us at 242 panas.
243.
243 with Sophia now. So yes. We're almost at 250, and our goal is 300 by August, and we're well on our way, honestly.
Yes. So even though we're growing and everything, we still have a lot of people that we'd like to include in our directory. So if you want to be included, it's free to join. All you gotta do is reach out to us, either DM us, we'll send you the form. It should take between 10 and 15 minutes. And I really urge you, if you're, we mentioned a lot of artists, but we also need AC repair companies. Like, we all need AC, right? We need all the services, barbers.
God, especially now.
Yeah, especially now. It's
this is when like the AC se pone comiquita, and then like you have to like call in somebody.
And we want to know Habapana to refer people to, right? So yeah, if you want to join, please just reach out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy to
Service providers, please reach out.
Yes.
So next up, so as you know, it's important to keep in touch with all of the things that are happening in the community. Well, luckily, Claudia and I are here to keep you updated on lo que está pasando in South Florida with our segment, Meanwhile in SoFlo. So Meanwhile in SoFlo, our pana querida, Dolo Yoga, is celebrating her 1-year anniversary. Yay.
Yes.
Her 1-year anniversary, being the beautiful yoga community that she is.
And really is a community so beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's been so amazing to see her grow. So not tomorrow. On Sunday, she's going to be having a community event at Legion Park.
Yes.
With another pana of ours, Black Brew, from 11 to 1 p.m. So yes.
Yes, that sounds
definitely go
amazing.
check that out.
And then tonight.
Okay,
So
this
tonight,
is where our outfits start to make sense.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, like we're always a little bit extra, but
but
today
extra
was,
today, yeah, for sure. And this is why Witches of Miami has their second femme prom. All right, so it is tonight, and Mama tried. Tickets are really
no,
affordable.
it's at Freehold, right?
Is that Freehold?
I thought it was at Freehold.
Okay.
Okay,
Details to
we're
be
not gonna
confirmed.
double check that right now, but you should double check that.
And the theme is Candy Perreo. So obviously, this is what
So
we're
can
doing.
you guess? Can you guess? What's the candy inspiration here?
I am Miss Peppermint because
Miss
I
Peppermint.
love mint.
Wow, fresh,
Mint and
minty.
fresh and fun.
Ooh. Okay, I
What about you?
I'm channeling Sweet Tarts, my favorite childhood candy.
Of course.
That's what I'm trying to go for.
Of course. We're candies, but not really candies. Like, we're not really the sweet candies.
No.
But
I mean,
we're still
we had to keep it interesting,
fierce candy. So we'll be there. And you should definitely show up.
definitely stop by.
Yes.
And then next we're gonna kind of like shift the tone a little bit. So this seems like a very important topic to talk about and to bring up today, and it's a little bit relevant to what we're going to be talking about with Sophia, and specifically the work that she does with the Miami Freedom Project. But as of July 1st, many of you know that DeSantis has been DeSantising and passing a lot of laws, and one of the laws, unfortunately, like in July 1st, it comes into effect, is going to be affecting a lot of undocumented immigrants, specifically their ability to have access to health care, their ability to receive help from their families, and just like all around affecting their livelihood. So this is an incredibly important issue in the community that we definitely want to address. And yeah, I
encourage people to start having conversations.
Yes.
I think, right? Like, it's really daunting when things like this happen, and you can feel really powerless. But one thing that you can do is just start asking, like checking in with the people in your community who are immigrants, and just checking in on them and seeing how they feel and making sure they're all right and that they feel supported, that they feel seen, and that they feel like people are with them, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Gladys.
Of course.
But we wanted to make sure to say something, because that was something that definitely impacts us, and it's also related to something else that we have coming down the pike.
Yes. So our event that was scheduled for June 30th.
This is Panamia Club news.
Panamia news now. Our event for Panagria, we mentioned it in our last podcast. That's going to be happening in July now. So it is like an event that we're putting on with Eddie, venue to be determined, but we want to make it a very thought-provoking event. We want to, like in the spirit of Miami, we want to have fun, but we also want to partner with like organizations or musicians that are immigrants, and just to bring more awareness and to start fostering community within like that space and conversations too.
Absolutely. So it's going to be called Piña Agria, and it's definitely, because you know us, right? Like our events all have concepts behind them. They all have like sort of like a bigger theme. This one, we definitely wanted to put like undocumented rights on the forefront and celebrating kind of like the cultural landscape and what like the importance of immigration in South Florida.
And their like immeasurable contribution to like not only like how we gather food and everything, but also within entertainment, within the culture that we all like love here in Miami.
Absolutely. So next up, on July 11th, we are going to have our very next Club de Pana. Yes. And we are going to be partnering actually with Artisans Playhouse.
Yes. Super excited.
So it's going to be our first partnership with Artisans Playhouse, but not our last, because we are going to be occupying a slot once a month on Tuesdays, kind of like, I think from 6 p.m. to like midnight-ish area. So it's going to be like kind of like a really nice weeknight escape. And in this one in particular that is happening on the 11th, I'm going to be teaching a cool, do-it-yourself sculpture activity. And then there's also going to be an open mic. So if you are having, trying to test out new music, new material, whatever, definitely hop on that mic. And yeah, I hope to see you all there.
That's fun. That's fun. Speaking of events, so Annette and I have been working on an event sponsorship package, and we finally have something to show you guys. So if you're an event organizer and you're putting on events in Miami and would like some support or collaboration with us, you can go ahead and reach out to us. We've been putting together like this amazing community list, or a list of all the community people who, from all different sectors. So we're interested to start, working with others to kind of bring a more collaborative and communicative approach to events. So if you want to have us be a part of them, just reach out.
Yeah, reach out and we can kind of like tell you what we can do for you, the services that we can help you with, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And then next, we kind of like wanted to make a bit of like an announcement. So you might be wondering, wow, Annette Clady, they do it all. Like, how do they get everything done? And you know what? For the most part, we are that. Yeah. But recently, we've been having help with like, all of the projects that we've been working on, and we just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge like the new people that are kind of on our team that are responding to my like 1 a.m. texts about like just like design work and do you think this sounds right? Does it look right? Right. So yeah, and they've just been absolutely incredible. So just
want to shout out Eddie. Love you. Also a teleprompter here before. He's helping us put on events. B also. Love you.
Yes.
Helping write and send emails and all that. And now a new person, Kat, they're actually helping us edit videos. So hopefully we'll be able to give you guys like more segments and smaller bits of info.
Yes.
And make you laugh.
So you can actually see the podcast.
Yes, the recorded things.
Yes.
And then lastly, we recently had a conversation with the FIU Pride Student Union, which we went really well. We're really excited to be working with them. And so we're putting on an event probably in the spring with them, but you'll be seeing us a little bit more on the FIU campus. And we're trying to expand and bring awareness to about Panamia to other communities. So if you want to see Panamia in your university, we could
stop by.
We could if you broker that.
Like if you wanted to invite us, like I'd be down.
Yeah, like Annette literally gets mistaken for middle school all the time. So.
This is true. And I've said it on the podcast in the past.
This is why it was kosher.
Yeah,
it was.
Okay.
Anyway,
so. Now that we're all caught up with community things, we can finally bring in our lovely guest, Sophia, social media manager of the Miami Freedom Project.
Yes.
So you just want to like come in through this little hole here. Yes. Thank you, love.
And then probably
just grab a mic, any mic. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I kind of wanted to introduce like a little bit about how we met. Mm-hmm. So we actually met fairly recently. Mm-hmm. We were both in this program called Artists as Catalyst, which is run by the Peace Studio. And, there were 40 people in there.
Yeah.
We actually didn't really speak until like the third day. Day, and
I don't think I spoke to anybody until the third day.
That's okay, valid. But you caught my eye, even before we got into the program, because I was like looking at all of the people that signed up, and then I remember you mentioned that you work with the Miami Freedom Project, and I was like, man, I know that name from somewhere, and then I looked at the account, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm so glad that I'm going to meet this person. And then we did, and we actually ended up having like a really cool collaboration while we were there. So once again, thank you for coming on, love.
Thank you. I'm so excited. It's interesting when you're somebody who does social media, because you're always behind an account and no one knows who you are, but you know who everybody else is. So when I make content for the Miami Freedom Project, I have to like remove the backgrounds of everybody's face. So I've seen everybody's face. I've gone through all of their social media profiles. And then when I meet people and say, oh yes, I do content for Miami Freedom Project, in my head, I've known them for years.
Right.
For as long as I've worked for Miami Freedom Project.
That's so interesting. That happens to me as well on the Instagram of Panamia.
Yeah.
And you kind of...
Gladia is the lurker, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Outing me as a lurker. All right.
Anyone who does social media, we have a bit of stalking tendency.
Yeah.
Because you need to know
No,
who
you
everybody
have
is.
to. You have to.
Absolutely.
You have to.
It's for fun, and just to know to know what you're getting into, kind
Right.
of. Yeah.
Right.
It's actually so great to finally meet you. I've heard a lot about you from Annette.
Thank you.
Yeah, and when the first time that Annette ever talked about you, she was just like, because we've been talking about trying to have someone on the podcast that could talk about how to frame language so that you're not scaring people, but and like are aware of their own traumas or their own like past, and how to like address some of these issues without using trigger words, basically.
Right.
And so like when
basically, how do you have these conversations with people that already have like radical ideas and
or that come from countries that that had authoritarian governments, or
Right.
and how do you connect with those people and communicate ideas with them, being conscious of that. And so that's something we had always been talking about. And when she introduced you, she was like, I found the person, I found them. Like we manifested it, they're here. They're gonna come on the podcast. I was like, okay.
No, it's true. It's true. Like the moment that you started talking to me about like Miami Freedom Project, I was like, yes, got him. But
I'm so happy you're here. Yes.
But before we get to that, I wanted you to introduce yourself because you are an individual aside from the organization. So, hello, Sophia.
Hello. Yes. So my name is Sofia Hidalgo, and I do social media management. And one of the biggest groups that I do it for is the Miami Freedom Project. And this is a nonprofit in Miami which the goal is to build a progressive space, mostly for Cubans, Venezuelans, Haitians, Dominicans, and others in the diaspora community that Miami represents. And both me and the co-founders come from a Cuban background and come from immigrant experiences, but have also lived either in New York or in Washington, D.C., or in other cities that are very political, where the language changes. And so working for the Miami Freedom Project is all about how do we make politics understandable and digestible to the people in Miami, because we have a very unique city, and you can't take the same way that you speak about politics and policy in New York and Washington, D.C. and place it here in Miami and expect people to understand you. I mean, we talk to abuelos a ventanitas, we love pastelito de guayaba, there's like chickens outside all the time. Everybody has some neighbors. It's always
the
music.
chickens have opinions too.
The chickens have opinions
contribute
too.
to the conversation.
It's a different culture, and people come from usually come from an immigrant background where they were born or their families were born in other countries, and so that all has to be taken into account when you speak about politics. And there's a real opportunity to invite people into the conversation of democracy without making people feel isolated and without triggering real trauma of where their families came from. And that's part of the work that I do with Miami Freedom Project, is breaking down national, state, and local news and events and initiatives for people in our communities to be able to understand, to be able to relate to, and maybe think about an alternative to the Republican monolith that a lot of Cubans, myself included, are very familiar with, but recognize some faults in and want to see a different path forward when it comes to engaging with democracy.
That's an incredible way to put it. And it's a mission that, is no small feat. And we've definitely talked about it a lot, specifically because it's a problem that we run into often.
Right.
We're like, how do we have these conversations? How do we like broach these topics? Because it's like so like divided that it's like sometimes a little bit difficult to have an open conversation, because everybody already has an opinion. I mean, it's impossible at this point in time kind of to escape politics, really.
Yeah, I mean, apolitical to me personally doesn't mean apolitical. I think like where things are
It's
right
almost
now.
a political stance to say
Yeah,
apolitical.
right.
Yeah. But I did want to ask you kind of like how you fell into this work and what it means to you.
Oh, that's a great question, actually. Thank you for asking me that.
Of course.
And I said that's a great question because this work is actually very, very personal to me. Most of my family has all worked for the administration, the Obama administration or the Biden administration or previous positions in the White House or with other organizations close to it. And the Miami Freedom Project was co-founded by my uncle, Patrick Hidalgo, who passed away in March of 2020, right at the start of the pandemic.
Wow.
And he was about 41 years old. He was very young. He's probably one of the first cases of COVID before we really knew what it was. And he had just launched the Miami Freedom Project with his co-partner, Ana Sofia Pelaez, who also lives here in Miami. And prior to this, Patrick was a U.S.-Cuba policy advisor for Obama, along with Ana Sofia Pelaez's sister, Carmen Pelaez. And so he was very engaged on the work from a top level of how do we have the conversation of democracy and changing the narrative with our relationship to Cuba and Latinos in Florida, because another position that he held was the Latino vote director for Obama as well. And for those of you who don't know, Florida voted for Obama twice, not just the first time around, but also the second time around before we flipped to being a much stronger red state. And part of his work was being able to talk about politics with our Cuban neighbors, with our Venezuelan neighbors. One of the things I had told Annette was that Hialeah, which is the city with the highest percentage of Cubans in the entire U.S., also
Right.
has the highest enrollment of Obamacare forever. Since the Affordable Care Act was passed, it has always had the highest enrollment in Obamacare, which is our federal healthcare system. The second city with the highest enrollment is Doral, which is the city with the highest percentage of Venezuelans in the entire U.S.
Yeah.
And so when we look at what people need and what people respond to, it is care, it is compassion, it is being able to live and prosper in this country. And that's something that my family has always strongly believed in and part of the work that founded Miami Freedom Project. So I moved here in 2020 during the pandemic to work with Patrick before he passed. And then we passed, I decided, I'm going to do this anyway. And I started with doing social media for a group called Cubana con Biden that was trying to form, whether or not you support the current president, it was trying to form a space where people could be Cuban and Democrats without being called a communist. Because
Right.
in Miami, as soon as you say public school, as soon as you say transit system, as soon as you say healthcare, tú eres comunista, socialista, and you immediately get discredited. And there are people who identify as communists, there are people who identify as socialists, there are people who identify in certain camps, but that's not what we were. We were Cubans who voted Democrat. And so I worked a lot with Carmen Pelaez to kind of deliver a message of how can we invite Cubans who don't support Donald Trump to get out, to talk to their families and say, we're all enrolled in Obamacare, we deserve to keep it. Or we all have Social Security and are cashing in our Social Security checks, we should be able to keep our Social Security. That's a right that we have because we pay taxes. And that's how I fell into this work. And the longer I stay here, the more involved I get with as we talked about, language and messaging of saying that we support democracy and that the services that we all use, we should be able to keep them.
Absolutely. And what an incredible story.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. And just like, thank you for the work that you do. I think it's incredibly important. But I did want to take a moment to kind of kind of apply it to what I see in my own family, right? Because you mentioned Venezuelans a lot. And it is true because Venezuelans tend to run a little bit red, like here in South Florida, and it is the same thing. It's a reaction to obviously the socialism and basically the dictatorship that we have in Venezuela right now. That is the reasons why we have so many Venezuelans in South Florida right now. And it's very difficult to kind of like distinguish those two different contexts, because it's kind of one thing to talk about like public services here in Miami, and you know, like what we need as a society, as immigrants, in order to kind of like operate in this country. And it's a completely different conversation to talk about like what happened in Venezuela, and it's like very difficult to kind of like bridge those two conversations.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you were talking about, like those labels. I can tell you that my family specifically is a little bit more on the progressive side in the spectrum, but the minute that you throw in the word socialist, completely shuts down, and for good reason. Like I personally have like lots of stories in my family about people that have been victimized by these regimes. So it's kind of like, how do we have these conversations? Which is what I would love to explore with you, and how the Miami Freedom Project does this work.
Yeah, absolutely. I got distracted.
Oh no, it's okay.
So let's see, where do I start? Repeat the question, the last bit.
Oh, okay. It's okay. We won't be able to spend too much time on this question.
No, I'll keep it
but
quick.
Just like kind of like talk a little bit about like how you kind of like approach this.
Yeah, because I
situation.
think a lot of people like have had the experience of a loved one, either like, you know, there's the messaging from the Republican Party is just so structured in such a way that it's, you know, it's a lot of people have, you know,
like you either victim. This or that.
Or that, yeah. And so we've seen a lot of people, like even in our own families or friendships, like friendships and partnerships like suffer from that sort of messaging. So if we're trying to, again, like engage with those people, what are some things you've learned along the way to kind of help us?
Great. Okay. I have my response to that. Something that's really important to note is that Fidel Castro ran on a platform of workers' rights and healthcare, and this in similar terms that the Democratic Party uses today, but in a very different context. And so there are a lot of people who were for the revolution early on. They said, yes, I want healthcare. Yes, I want public school. Yes, I want to be able to go to work and get paid a fair wage. And then when they saw that he was actually a dictator and saw their friends get shot out of the sky, as my abuelo did, they realized, oh no, I cannot be in support of this. I cannot be in support of these measures that he is claiming, if it comes at the expense of our livelihoods, if it comes at the expense of my personal rights, of my freedom of speech, of my right to own property, of my ability to vote. And some people who were for the revolution became counter-revolutionaries, and others who were always against the revolutionaries, you know, left. And there's a complicated history there, but it's important to note that a dictator on the left and a dictator on the right is still a dictator. But the platforms they use then trigger people. So when we say, you know, socialized healthcare, they hear the term socialized, and it is traumatic, as it would be for anybody who experienced that.
Of course.
And so the way that, you know, I approach this conversation is similar to what I talked about in terms of like, your abuela is most likely on Obamacare. So the way I approach it is, mijo, tú quieres keep the healthcare para tu abuela, para que ella pueda vivir, you know, and my abuelo has Social Security. I'm like, abuelo, ¿tú quieres tu Social Security? No podemos pagar para nada sin eso. That's his only income right now, because he got screwed out of his job. So it's looking at what are they currently benefiting from and ensuring, can we keep that? If we have public schools in the neighborhood, we don't want to vote for somebody who's going to take away funding from the public school that we all attended to fund a private school, you know? And it's like looking at where do people actually benefit from, and talking specifically, people need to hear like, what is in it for me, to be honest.
The reality of the conversation is that this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is really uncomfortable to have these conversations, but we have them because we believe that they're important, because specifically in Florida, they are systematically being taken away. Immigrant rights, like LGBTQ rights, reproductive rights, the ability to exist, freedom. Housing, everything is tied to politics in this moment in time. Even climate change.
Absolutely.
Like ignoring all of that stuff. So yes, thank you for having this conversation
Yes.
with us, Sophia.
I'd love to talk more at any other point. I'm like, I feel like we could talk about this for a whole hour.
For a long time. For a long time.
Is there anything
the whole
like?
podcast.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention though, like that you really wanted to talk about?
The way we have it all comes down to language, and it comes down to being relatable, and you can't get upset at people for where they stand. It's more about inviting people into the conversation, as you have with me today and others. The majority of my friends in Miami are Republican, and we talk all the time, and we disagree all the time, but we still have that conversation, and we find our own middle ground. And so it's hard not to shut down. It's hard not to get angry sometimes. But we all come from a very similar background. And so the more you look at it from a person-to-person perspective and being able to relate to people's humanities and talking about our ability to live freely, the more you're able to open up a better relationship, I think, here in South Florida and all across the state.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks again, Sophia. And we are... Yes, that is your cue to leave. Great. Goodbye, Sophia.
Thank you.
I'll see you again soon. And now we're going to switch gears. And we are going to invite on our lovely guest and our, querida pana of like...
If you've been to any of our events, you will have seen him.
Yes.
He was at Naomi's Garden for the party, and then Panalandia.
Yeah,
one of
and
our
with his
resident
band.
musicians. Yes.
When I tell you, just like I always like love talking about Igor. It immediately puts a smile on my face. I'm like, this beautiful human being, this cutie pie. And here he is.
What's up?
Hello, my love. How are you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming.
We say hi to each other earlier.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And we are here to talk about an exclusive that you're giving us today. And it's called the song Sal pa la calle.
Sal pa la calle.
Sal pa la calle.
Yeah.
And it's going to come on in a minute, like right now. Yes.
Hit me.
Yes.
El líder. ¿Quién más si no? Entre musas, tú sabes, entre musas.
I can rap. Imagine I go. Sal pa la calle. I like this song.
Dime si no tengo razón.
I don't know if I know it yet.
Sal pa la calle.
It goes like this. La ola se fue, ahora tienen que cogerla. No confundas tenerla con mantenerla. No confundas tenerla con merecerla. Automático eléctrico como los Tesla. Yo tengo el producto, tengo la calidad, también tengo cantidad, solo tengo que moverla. La musa me lo dijeron, voy a obedecerla. Voy para arriba como que soy el hijo de Merda, mi alma.
Sal pa la calle, después date cuenta.
But it's new though, like.
La vida es una, da muchas vueltas. Sigue el ritmo de esta canción, pa' que cojas sazón. Sal pa la calle, dime si no tengo razón.
It's a summer song.
Sal pa la calle, sigue el ritmo de esta canción. Dale, siéntelo. Damas y caballeros, ¿están listos para el segundo verso? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Dígame quién es usted, mucho gusto saber que conecté. Estoy lleno de fe, un día me dormí, hasta creo que me perdí. Pero me encontré cuando desperté, experimenté, por eso aprendí.
Y salí por donde mismo entré, aposté por mí.
I gotta rehearse.
Es mejor voy a dejarlo ahí. Sal pa la calle, dime si no tengo razón. Después date cuenta, entre musas está en la casa. Y el líder, ¿quién más si no? ¿Quién más si no?
¿Quién más si no? I'm super proud about this body of work. It's not just one song. It's a whole. It's a whole. It's a 3-song pack.
Ooh,
Yeah.
dang, that's really cool.
It's a summer pack.
That's really
Summer
cool.
pack.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, that was incredible.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, it's so good.
God, like you
I'm
just
glad you
come
guys
out
like
with
it.
bangers.
Can you imagine like driving down Miami, like
Hell
listening
Oh,
to
yeah.
this song,
Oh
like,
my God.
windows rolled
Are
down,
you kidding me?
Like,
No, this is the song of the summer.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're
Hey.
gonna bump this all of the time.
Hey, I hope you do.
No, 100%. I'm like, yo, did
I
you
need
hear
every
Igor's
single sound
sing
scan.
up?
But yeah, sal para la calle. Self-explanatory too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for so much again for coming on, love.
thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Anytime.
yes.
I kind of wanted to introduce to you like to the people that like don't know you. How would you say, "Hi, I'm Igor"?
I'm Igor. That's my real name, but my artist name is El Igor, which is the Igor, and I make urban alternative music in the city of Miami. Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be the sum up.
Yes.
Make a lot of music too.
Yeah.
I heard you're wanting to get to 100 songs.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I might be at 100 already.
Already?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I don't have the exact number right now, but it's been 3 years of releasing music, so I know that I'm for sure around like I want to say no less than 50 personally, and then
Mhm.
like collabs and all that like might add up to
That's
the
so
hundreds.
cool.
Yeah,
That's so many.
There's a lot of
and
music.
It's a big journey.
it is.
How has it changed? Like, how has your body of work changed from when you started?
Well, it changed from me doing my like just recording and doing my own stuff on top of YouTube beats to working with people. I guess my team has just increased, and then personally I've gained experience to where like we sound better than we did before, and then the goal is to sound better than we do sound now, but it's better than when we started 3 years ago, definitely.
It's really cool. I think the way that you've founded this like incredible community of artists, and I can say this because I know a little bit like about some of the artists that you work with, and I remember when you came out with, I think it was like a listening party that you had last year for your last album, which was Miami 2019. And you invited like a couple other people to perform Rolando la Mosca, I think.
Rolando en Mosca.
Rolando Mosca.
Yeah.
And of course Alejandro.
Yeah.
And I was just like so incredibly blown away about how like all of you are just, it was like spoken word poetry. Like it's just poetry like to music. And it's like incredible. And I don't know if that's like, if you just like attract like those people or like what it is. What is the sauce?
Well, I definitely attracted those people, but it started by putting myself out there first. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I feel like nowadays, like it's hard to come outside. So like I respect every single artist that like comes out here and like performs in front of X amount of people, because it takes a lot. It takes getting up, rehearsing, getting ready, not caring, or I guess caring but doing it anyways. You know what I'm saying? And I started doing it like just in my crib, but then when I started coming out and people started seeing me come out, the people in the scene already were like, okay, we can work with this person. And then I feel like that attracted other people to feel like, oh, I can do that too. You know what I'm saying? Like I can pull up, we can form a team. Like, working with teams is the best thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, Asepana, you know what I'm saying? Associates, I feel like that's super cool. Like I wouldn't have a podcast platform if I weren't like affiliated to you guys, or like, if I have been in the scene for you guys to see me. I remember when I met you guys. It was a show.
It was a show.
It was at Unseen Creatures. That was the first time that I saw Panamia.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
I was vending and you were performing.
Yeah.
And you were there with Charlie and
Charlie
Pablo.
Tripp and Pablito. Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Yes.
I was on their set, and I don't remember if I had my own set, but yeah, I was just out there. That's what that's what it is.
No,
that's
you
really what it
definitely
is.
made an impression. I was like, okay, Fit.
That's fire.
And then you performed at like when I had an event for my clothing brand, which to me meant a lot.
Hey.
And it was incredible. You like had like just captured the audience.
I was the only performer there, right?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes,
God. That
you
was
were
such
the
a
only
nice
performer.
experience. That was
No,
a really nice
it was
experience.
incredible.
Yeah.
And then, after that, like very shortly after that is when we started Panamia. And then you were completely for it. And that, like, I have so much love for the people that have been with us, like, since the very beginning. So, like, that's why we always try to include you in our projects because we're like,
Yo. You guys can always
tú
count
eres
on me.
pana, ¿no?
Yeah, that's super cool. But yeah.
Yeah.
Can I speak to you guys about this upcoming project?
No,
Yes,
I mean,
please.
that's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's
so
definitely why you're here.
it's a 3-song pack, coming from a bigger album. My latest album was like 15 songs, and then we did a deluxe where we added 5, so 20 in total. And I can tell you from experience that that's a lot of work. Like, that's a lot of work. So because of going through the creation of that and the release and all the work, we enjoy the process, but that just told me, like, okay, maybe for the summer, because like I'm not a full-time artist, like I have to like do
Right.
other stuff
Of
and work
course,
and
of
go to school
course.
and whatnot. I was like, I can probably put out another project, another like body of music, but this time make it shorter. I mean, this is like way shorter than 15. It's like 5 times less, literally, but it's still like quality music. I feel like it's gonna serve a purpose of just being summer theme, more refreshed, and it's gonna be easier to work on, honestly. So I'm doing Sal pa la calle. It's a super nice wordplay. Like when I say it, that's why I like this song is called Sal only, but then the whole project is called Sal pa la calle, and it's
and is it like each song like sal, pala?
oh well, that would have been a good idea, but I didn't do it like that.
Never mind.
I wish I would have spoke to you earlier. But nah, I mean the wordplay in it is it could be sal pa la calle as of go to the street as a command, but it could also be like salt for the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like sal para la calle. So
Sal para
we're
calle,
definitely
sal
gonna
para
like
la-
try to visually like South Bay on.
Okay.
But we're gonna try to like visually portray that wordplay. But yeah, it's super nice. You guys heard it. It's bumpy. It's Sal pa la calle, go out. It's the summer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like all of your projects are super ambitious, man. Like I sometimes I'm like, wow, how does he do it? That's crazy. And like before we kind of like move on to the next segment, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to like say a little bit about the group that you're working with.
La Máquina.
Yes.
La Máquina de Flow.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually working on something with them that's super special. We're working on because we're a band, but we don't have music out yet. So we are
Right.
working on some music.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
We both of us have
Yes.
been like, when are they gonna come out
Yeah.
with the?
Because we're out here performing and we're like, okay, we need to actually like, give people something to have while they're not seeing us perform. And we are working on something together with La Máquina de Flow. That's my band. And it's super special because it's friends that before we consider ourselves like a band, like an identity, I would just play with them. Like they would just play for me, for my personal projects, or if any of the other guys had a personal project, like I would pull up, for example. And so we decided to just like combine all 3 projects. It's Ale TCA, Lazy Eye Music, and El Igor, and then make it a band thing. And so what we do is we perform each of our individual songs, and they're all original. Most of them. We're trying to work on covers. Covers are fun, but what made it easier to come up together is that we already have our original songs that we just have to adapt to acoustic instrumentals. And then the same people that play my songs, they like we all know each other's songs by now, so we have like a huge repertoire and we just like learn it and vary it. But we're now like on the production side. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So La Máquina de Flow music coming out soon
Oh yeah.
also.
And that's something that I identified about the sound of La Máquina that I thought was so special, that it really does feel like it has like a little bit of everything. It's like a
It
mix
does.
of all of your sounds.
It has to do with our backgrounds and our culture and whatnot. Like, Yadi was born in Cuba, but he came when he was like very young. So his musical influence is way different than mine is. In growing up in Havana, or Ale is growing up in Cienfuegos. You know, we have different realities, and so we just different. You know what I'm saying? So it's a super nice mashup. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's something in it for everybody.
Of course. Yeah. And then on that same band, I want to shout out Rico, the bassist and producer for the whole band and my personal songs. So shout out Rico. And then we have Andrew on the drums, and then we have minor percussion, Jojito. Yeah, he's really nice. So
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Looking forward to more of La Máquina.
Yeah.
To
La
more of La
Máquina.
Máquina, to more of you. You know, we're your biggest fans, and we're always going to be shouting you out whenever we can.
Hey, I know. I love you guys.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Igor. But don't go anywhere, because we're going to be inviting Sophia back in for our segment, Keke, where we get questions from the audience, and we have a few in this case. So,
Yes.
welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Never left.
Glad to be back.
Okay, so do you want to do the first question?
Yes.
Go for it.
I will ask you. This is from B. Yeah.
Okay.
You first. From B. It's if someone offered you. No. I'm gonna change it.
Okay.
Different one. Yeah. This one's from Pigeon Society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi,
Pigeon
Leo.
Society. Shout out Pigeon Society. All right. What is your next big project?
My next big project. So all of my projects right now are really involved with Panamia. We have a lot going on, so I'm just going to pick two. One, of course, is the directory. You guys have been asking us, like, you guys have been hearing about the directory, me talking about it up and down for like ever. So we have two developers that are working with us, and we are kind of in the process of putting that together. And as you know, it's going to be an online keyword searchable project. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, a lot of details. It's happening.
Yes.
It's
For-
happening. It's getting there.
For those of you who want to access it, sorry to cut you off. We
No.
also have a spreadsheet too that it's not as pretty as a keyword as like a website and like, much more usable. But if you still want to access it, you can. And so
Absolutely.
reach out.
And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about is actually this project that is kind of right now in its like sort of idea phase. But you guys heard me mention earlier that Sophia and I were in a program together called Artists as Catalysts. And we actually came up with this grant proposal for sort of this event that we wanted to have at Club Gallery at the Citadel. So this is a project that I really actually want to bring to life because the idea is to invite all of these community members into one space together to actually physically make a locals directory, like literally just inviting friends and being like, who do you know? Who do you know that is like providing services in the community, that is an artist, that maybe like works as, like a mechanic or an electrician, whatever it is, just put them down in this book, and then we'll make it into a zine and we'll like send it to all of these people in the community so they know that what we're doing, right? Because I talk about this directory all day long and people do not know what it means. So I want to make like a zine and show people like, this is what it means. This is what it means to locally source from your community. So that's a project that we definitely are kind of like in the works with, and we're going to, you might see that come up maybe later on this year. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait. It's a really
Alright.
good idea.
Yes, thank you. And then I'll ask a question for Sophia.
Okay.
So B asks, what does a safe space look like to you?
Well, I live with my abuelo in Westchester, and he's my best friend. We spend all the time together. When he could walk and he would be in the kitchen. We would sit there for hours because I work remote, and we would talk about everything that you can imagine. And I never thought I would have that kind of relationship with an 84-year-old. Like me, when I first moved to Miami as an 18-year-old, like he was my best friend, and we just spent every second together. So him in that house in Westchester is my safe space.
Aw, that's so cute.
That's a beautiful answer.
Yes. All right, I have a question for Igor. This one's from Jen, who's also collaborated with you. They ask, what made you start writing, and what makes you continue?
That's an excellent
That's
question.
a really good question. Okay, so shout out Jen. We have a song that came out like 2 weeks ago, maybe more, and it's called Soltero, and I really like that song. I'm really proud of that song.
Hell yeah.
He produced and wrote his part, so shout out. It's been a pleasure
Yes.
working with them for like a long time. So
Yes. Also, a shout out from us, because Jen is our developer too. So
super good,
Love you.
super talented. Yeah, and what made me start writing? I think wanting to be like other rappers made me start rapping. Writing.
that's okay.
Who were your big like influencers?
So the first that come to mind is Los Aldeanos.
Okay.
They're underground rap group from Havana, Cuba, and they just they were really good at expressing themselves and basically doing poetry over rap beats, and like a bunch of people, the youth really identify with them. Yeah, and they were like censored, so it was like taboo to like listen to these people talking,
Right.
freely expressing themselves. So
Right.
they were really nice. I started writing when I was super young, but then I stopped, and then I think that life just the need for expression made me hop back into it. Yeah, straight up.
I definitely see those influences in your work, because I feel like a huge emphasis in your music is like, I have the freedom to do this.
Right.
And it's an amazing sentiment.
Yeah, and it's a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to close out with you.
Okay.
Question for you. Okay, so what, of course, another one from B. What life lesson are you learning right now?
I am learning the lesson of balance. Like, I recently moved to Fort Lauderdale, so now I'm a Broward gal.
I prefer Broward bitch, but go on.
Oh, MBB. All right, and yeah, there's just been a lot of like moving parts in my life, and I think also, there's a lot of exciting things too, like what we're doing with Panamia, and so trying to find the balance that will allow these projects to like flourish and to be sustainable, and also taking care of oneself. It's a delicate thing to master.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to that. I think I'm learning that lesson too.
Balance.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. We're fine.
We're great. We're not. I would offer we're thriving.
No, we are
great.
thriving. We're thriving. We're doing really great.
So exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of cool stuff happening. Well, so this has been Keke.
Yes.
If you'd like to submit your questions for the next episode, make sure to DM us on Instagram or Twitter at Panamia Club.
Yes. Dale, mi gente linda. And with that, we conclude this episode of PanaVizión. Join us next week in 2 weeks from now, I think, to talk about, to talk to other creatives, and also submit your questions so that they can, it be interactive.
Yes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and you want others to engage with our fellow panas like Igor and Sofia, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
And that's it. All right. Bye, friends.